Hello, my friends. I'm Dr. Edward Thompson. I've spent over 35 years walking alongside men and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, helping them discover that aging doesn't have to mean losing health, joy, or freedom. And if there's one silent threat I've seen time and time again, it's this high cholesterol and blood fat sneaking up on people who thought they were eating just fine. It doesn't shout, it doesn't announce itself. It whispers in the background until one day it becomes heart disease, a stroke, or diabetes. But here's the good news: your daily plate, the foods you put into your grocery cart, the way you cook your meals, the choices you make at the dinner table, those things are not small. They are powerful. They can either quietly build disease or quietly protect you. The reality we face. Back in 20, global studies showed that disorders of blood fats, what most of us know as high cholesterol or high triglycerides, were responsible for nearly 4.4 million deaths worldwide. That's almost 8% of all deaths. Here in the US, the numbers mirror that story. And for seniors over 60, the risk multiplies. But here's what breaks my heart: most people don't even know they have it. They feel fine. Maybe a little tired, maybe a little short of breath after climbing the stairs. But they don't connect those whispers to what's happening in their arteries. And the first sign, too often, it's a stroke, a heart attack, or waking up in a hospital bed. I've sat across from patients who said to me, "Doc, if I had known sooner, I would have changed." And I always tell them it's never too late. Why this matters for you. For those of us in our 60s and 70s, food has a story. We've lived through decades of changing advice, low-fat diets, high-protein trends, sugar-free promises. It can feel confusing, even overwhelming. But what science and experience both show is this balanced quality and mindful choices matter more than extremes. It's not about eating like a rabbit, and it's not about giving up everything you enjoy. It's about understanding how certain foods quietly raise cholesterol and how others gently bring it down, protect your arteries, and give your heart a fighting chance to beat strong for years to come. Setting the stage. So today I want to take you on a journey not just of science, but of wisdom. We'll talk about what I've seen in my practice, what the research tells us in plain English, and how people like you have turned their health around simply by rethinking their plates. We'll look at foods that nourish your heart, traditions from cultures with long lifespans like the Japanese and the Mediterranean, and practical, realistic changes you can make right here in America without giving up the joy of food. Because food should be more than numbers on a nutrition label. It should be connection, memory, comfort, but also medicine. And my promise to you is this: by the end of this conversation, you'll walk away with not just knowledge, but a sense of hope that your best years can still be ahead if you give your body the right care. The silent enemies of the things I tell my patients is this: high cholesterol doesn't knock on your door and introduce itself. It slips in quietly without pain, without warning. You won't feel your arteries hardening. You won't feel plaque building up inside your blood vessels. In fact, many people go years believing they're fine until suddenly they're not. Maybe it shows up as a heavy pressure in the chest while walking across the parking lot. Maybe it's dizziness, blurred vision, or that scary moment when your arm goes numb for a few seconds. But too often, the very first sign of trouble is a heart attack or stroke. I've seen this countless times in my clinic. A man in his late 60s comes in saying he feels a little weak, maybe short of breath. We run a blood test and his cholesterol levels are through the roof. He looks at me and says, "Doc, but I don't eat that bad." And yet the numbers tell a different story. Why it's so dangerous. Cholesterol itself isn't evil. In fact, your body makes it every single day because it's essential. It builds your cells, makes hormones, even helps your brain function. But when LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, rises too high, and when triglycerides creep up as well, they start to deposit like sludge inside the pipes of your bloodstream. Over time, those deposits harden into plaque, narrowing the flow of blood. Imagine trying to water your garden with a hose that's clogged with dirt. The pressure builds, the flow slows, and eventually the hose bursts. That's exactly what happens in your arteries. Only instead of water, it's blood, and instead of a garden, it's your brain or your heart on the line. The hidden numbers. What makes it even trickier is that cholesterol problems don't always come with obvious symptoms. It's not like a broken bone that screams for attention. That's why routine blood tests are vital, especially once we hit 50 and beyond. A simple lipid panel can reveal the truth of total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, triglycerides. And while numbers may feel abstract, each one represents a real risk or a real chance at prevention. I often remind my patients, you don't have to fear the numbers. They're not here to shame you. They're here to give us a roadmap. Stories from the clinic. Let me tell you about Mary. She's 72, a grandmother of 5, and she came to me after experiencing a mild stroke. She thought it was just a senior moment when her words got jumbled one afternoon, but the ER doctors told her otherwise. When we checked her labs, her LDL was sky high. Mary broke down in my office. She said, I wish someone had told me sooner that food could do this. We worked together on her diet, her activity, her mindset. Within a year, her cholesterol numbers dropped dramatically, and more importantly, she felt alive again. She started gardening, taking walks with her grandkids, and she told me, Doc, I feel like I got my second chance. Stories like Mary's remind me cholesterol isn't just a number on paper. It's the difference between watching your grandchildren grow up or missing those years. A growing concern, and here's something that might surprise you. Cholesterol problems aren't just for older adults anymore. I've seen men, women in their 30s, even children showing early signs of high triglycerides and fatty liver disease. Why? Because of the way we eat, the way we move or don't move in modern life. Fast food, oversized portions, sugary drinks, and long hours sitting, they all stack up. And while it might take decades for damage to show in a young person, by the time they hit 60, the foundation is already cracked. That's why for you, my friend watching this in your golden years, the urgency is real. You can't change the years behind you, but you can absolutely change the years ahead. Food as friend or foe. Now, let's talk about what's really on your plate. For decades, many Americans were told, all fat is bad, cut it out. And so we bought fat-free cookies, low-fat yogurt margarine instead of butter. We thought we were making healthy choices. But here's the truth. The story of fat is more complicated. Your body needs fat. It's fuel. It helps absorb vitamins. It builds hormones. The real question isn't whether you eat fat. It's which kind of fat you choose and how much. Think of it this way. There's a world of difference between the fat that drips off fried bacon and the healthy oils in salmon, walnuts, or olive oil. One clogs your arteries like sludge, the other keeps them flexible and strong. The fats that harm. In America, we love convenience. Burgers, fries, pizza, packaged snacks. They're fast, they're cheap, they taste good. But they're also loaded with saturated fats and trans fats, the two worst culprits when it comes to raising LDL cholesterol and inflaming your arteries. I've seen patients who swear they only indulge occasionally. But when we write down a week's worth of meals, we see the truth: daily bacon at breakfast, fried chicken for lunch, butter-heavy casseroles at dinner. It all adds up. These fats don't just raise your cholesterol, they fuel a slow fire in your blood vessels. And that fire eventually leads to stroke or heart attack. The fats that heal, on the flip side, some fats are like medicine for your arteries. These are the unsaturated fats found in foods like olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. When you swap butter for olive oil, when you snack on almonds instead of chips, when you grill salmon instead of steak, you're not just eating differently. You're literally rewiring your blood chemistry. Your LDL starts to fall, your HDL. The good cholesterol rises and your blood flows more freely. The Mediterranean diet, loved by researchers for decades, is rich in these heart-healthy fats. And guess what? It's not some exotic lifestyle. You can practice it right here in the US with ingredients from your local grocery store. Practical American choices. Let me bring this closer to home. Imagine your breakfast. Instead of buttered white toast with sausage, what if you had a bowl of oatmeal topped with berries and walnuts? That oatmeal contains beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that sweeps cholesterol out of your bloodstream like a broom. At lunch, instead of a cheeseburger and fries, picture a turkey and avocado sandwich on whole grain bread with a side of crisp apple slices. You're still full, still satisfied, but you've cut out loads of saturated fat and added fiber and antioxidants. And dinner. Instead of steak and mashed potatoes drenched in butter, what if you enjoyed baked salmon with roasted vegetables, seasoned with olive oil and herbs? That's not a sacrifice, that's a feast. This isn't about eating like someone else. It's about taking our American traditions, Sunday dinners, family cookouts, holiday spreads, and reshaping them in ways that nourish instead of harm. Science meets common sense, and the science backs it up. Studies show that replacing just 5% of your daily calories from saturated fat with unsaturated fat can lower your risk of heart disease by as much as 25%. That's huge. It's not about perfection. It's about steady swaps, daily habits, and finding joy in foods that love you back. I often tell my patients, you don't have to fear food, you just have to befriend the right foods. The power of fiber. If there's one nutrient that quietly saves more lives than we give it credit for, it's fiber. Not glamorous, not trendy, but powerful. Fiber acts like the housekeeper of your arteries. It sweeps through your digestive tract, binding to cholesterol and carrying it out of the body before it ever has the chance to lodge itself into your bloodstream. When my patients ask me, Doc, what's the simplest thing I can do to lower my cholesterol? I often say, eat more fiber every single day. Where to find it? The best sources: fruits, vegetables, beans, and whole grains. Letting me give you a picture. Imagine a plate of brown rice with sautéed vegetables instead of white rice, or pasta stripped of its nutrients. Picture a hearty bowl of lentil soup, the kind your grandmother might have made warm and filling. Or an apple crisp juicy with the peel still on. That apple isn't just a snack, it's medicine. The pectin inside apples binds cholesterol like a magnet and carries it out of your body. Every bite is doing invisible good work. A patient's lesson. Remember a patient named John, 68 years old, who came to me frustrated. His cholesterol wouldn't budge even after months on medication. When we looked at his diet, I noticed he barely touched vegetables and ate almost no whole grains. His meals were mostly meat and white bread, So we made one small change. Every lunch and dinner had to include a fist-sized portion of vegetables and either beans or whole grains. Within 3 months, his cholesterol dropped significantly, and he told me he felt lighter, more energetic, less sluggish after meals. He looked at me and said, "Doc, I never thought beans and greens could beat the pills." And I told him, they don't replace your medicine, but they partner with it. American tables, American choices. Now I know what some of you are thinking, Doc. I'm not giving up my steak or my mashed potatoes, and you don't have to. What I encourage is balance. If you're serving steak, cut the portion in half and fill the rest of your plate with roasted Brussels, sprouts, and quinoa. If you love sandwiches, swap the white bread for whole grain, add spinach and tomato, and you've transformed a simple lunch into heart medicine. This isn't about foreign diets or impossible rules. It's about using what's already in our grocery stores, already in our American kitchens, but choosing differently. The numbers don't lie. Science shows that people who consume 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day have a much lower risk of heart disease. Yet most Americans barely hit 15 grams. That's like showing up to protect your house with only half the bricks in the wall. But here's the good news. It's not hard to fix. A cup of oatmeal at breakfast gives you 4 grams. An apple adds another 3. A cup of black beans at lunch. That's 15 grams right there. You see, just a few intentional choices and you're already protecting your arteries. Food with meaning. I want you to think of it this way. Every piece of fruit, every serving of vegetables, every bowl of whole grains is not just food. It's a gift you're giving your future self, the version of you who wants to walk without pain, breathe without struggle, laugh with your grandchildren without worrying about the next trip to the hospital. That's the power of fiber. Quiet, steady, transformative. Movement as medicine, food is powerful, but it's only half the story. The other half is how we move our bodies. When I tell my patients they need to exercise, I can almost hear the sighs. They picture running marathons, sweating in a gym, lifting heavy weights. But that's not what I mean. Movement doesn't have to be punishment. In fact, it should feel like joy. Walking around your neighborhood, gardening on a sunny afternoon, dancing in your kitchen to your favorite oldies. Even gentle yoga or stretching in the morning before your coffee. The goal is simple: keep the blood flowing, keep the muscles working, keep the body alive with motion. Why it matters: when you move your body, burns excess fats, improves circulation, and actually raises your HDL, the good cholesterol that sweeps away the bad. Exercise makes your arteries more elastic, your heart more efficient, your mind sharper. And the beauty is, you don't need hours. Just 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week can transform your risk profile. That's less than the time many of us spend scrolling on our phones or watching TV news. I've seen patients who began with 5 minutes of walking because that's all they could handle. Over time, those 5 minutes became 10, then 20, then 30. And one day they realized they could play with their grandkids without getting winded. That's when exercise stops being the chore and starts being freedom. The wisdom of other cultures. We Americans like to think we invented health science, but sometimes the best lessons come from looking abroad. Take Japan. It's one of the countries with the longest lifespans. Their secret: they eat until they are only 80% full. A principle called Hara Hachibu. They walk a lot, not as exercise, but as daily life. They eat smaller portions, more fish, more vegetables, and fewer heavy meats. Or look at the Mediterranean: Greece, Italy, Spain. Their meals are drenched in olive oil filled with beans, vegetables, herbs, nuts, and seafood. Meals are long, social, unrushed. And guess what? Rates of heart disease are far lower than here in the US. Now, you don't have to become Japanese or Italian to benefit, but you can borrow their wisdom. Smaller portions, more vegetables, olive oil instead of butter, a walk after dinner instead of heading straight for the recliner. The American context. I know what it's like here. We live fast. We eat in the car. We watch our portions grow bigger every decade. But that doesn't mean we can't change. One of my patients once told me, "Doc, I thought exercise had to be extreme. But when I started walking after dinner with my wife, just 20 minutes each night, I not only lost weight, we reconnected as a couple." That's the beauty of lifestyle changes. They ripple out. They don't just change your cholesterol numbers. They change your relationships, your mood, your sense of purpose. Controlling weight without obsession. Now let's talk about weight. Extra pounds, especially around the belly, are like fuel for cholesterol problems. But here's what I want you to hear. The goal isn't to chase the body you had at 25. It's to find a healthy, livable weight at 60, 70, 80. Studies show that losing even 5 to 10% of your body weight can make a dramatic difference in cholesterol, blood sugar, and blood pressure. You don't need to chase perfection, you just need progress. I often tell my patients, it's not about the number on the scale, it's about how your body feels and functions. If you can walk farther, sleep better, breathe easier, and smile more, that's real success. A shift in perspective. So here's the invitation. Don't think of lifestyle changes as punishment. Think of them as an act of love. Love for your own body, love for the people who want you around for years to come. Every step you take, every healthier bite you choose, every moment you move, instead of sit at all, adds up to more life. My friends, if you've stayed with me this far, I want you to hear this clearly. It's never too late. Cholesterol is not destiny. High blood fats are not a life sentence. Every small choice you make, a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, a walk after dinner, a handful of almonds instead of chips, becomes a brick in the foundation of a stronger future. I've seen men and women in their 70s, even 80s, turn their numbers around. Not by chasing bishais or starving themselves, but by returning to balance. By remembering that food is not the enemy, it is a partner. By moving their bodies not with dread, but with gratitude. And so I ask you, what small step will you take today? Will you swap butter for olive oil? Will you take a walk around the block? Will you add one extra serving of vegetables to your plate? Whatever it is, start now. Your future self, the one who wants to dance at family weddings, play with great-grandchildren, travel without fear, will thank you. If this message has touched you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Every week I share simple, practical, science-backed ways to keep your heart strong and your life vibrant after 60. And I'd love to hear from you. What's one food you're ready to change in your daily routine? Drop it in the comments below. Your story might just inspire someone else. Because together, we're not just adding years to life, we're adding life to years. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.